All right. Welcome everybody. If you can hear me clearly, type Y in the chat box. I love showing that video because that is perfect for what we're going to be talking about tonight, about us living in this exponential times that we live in today. Well, welcome. My name is Brandon Ivey. I am a global power shopping Sherlock. I'm the leader of Power Team Marketing. And thank you for taking time out of your schedule to hear about something that's very, very important. Now, this is a very busy night for us tonight. We're going to be talking about one, the growth of e-commerce. Also, we're going to be doing mindset training tonight with the focus being on, how to become a professional or how to act as a professional in this industry. But for now, what this is about is something that is going to affect every single person in the world, regardless of what country you're from, regardless of where in the world you are, regardless of age. It's just we can't escape this. This is a fundamental shift in how we survive, literally. The economy acts as I like to call it a river. And if you are a student of history, and before I go on, I want to let you guys know now, I'm gonna be doing this part of this training kind of like a teacher style. I went to school. I was 2 semesters away from having my master's degree in teaching education. I was a pre-law major in college, political science degree. So I'm gonna try to make this as simplistic as possible without boring you and putting you to sleep. But this is important information that is not being taught and it is not being shared. And it is all around us. We see it by just turning on our TVs, but most people aren't paying attention, or do they understand the significance of what's taking place? And I was one of them. Just 6 months ago, I had no clue. I had no idea. And I'm actually ashamed to say that because I consider myself one of the enlightened few. One of the guys that's in the know, I pay attention to the news. I pay attention to politics. I pay attention to the economy. I am a student of this industry of network marketing. I make it a point to know what's going on with other companies, what's hot, what's not, where are the trends. And after 15 years of all of that, I had no idea on what was really taking place and the significance it's having on us. You know that old saying, ignorance is bliss. And it also helps me to understand why our company, Shopping Sherlock, is exploding overseas as opposed to here in just America. And before I go further, just so you guys know who else is on, go ahead and type in the chat box where you're logging in from. I'm logging in from Los Angeles, California. It was a beautiful, warm day today out here in LA. But type in the chat box. Got New York, Ohio, South Carolina, Texas, North Carolina, Bismarck, North Dakota, Japan. There's a leader from Japan, Dino. Corpus Christi, Washington, New Orleans, Alexandria, Virginia, Stafford, Oregon, Pasadena, California. Hey, Dino, type what time it is. Because for us, I'm in California, it's 6:11 p.m. Saturday. But in Japan, I think it is like 10 or 11 a.m. Sunday. 10 or 11 a.m. 10 a.m. Sunday. They're a whole day ahead of us. See, Mississippi, Miami, Phoenix. So as you guys see, we have people logging in from all over the world for this because it affects all of us all over the world. So what do I mean by that? Let me break it down to you like this, okay? So you understand. Money. Everybody wants more money. What's biggest on the news right now is that the lottery was just announced, and nobody won it yesterday, and it was like now it's up to $400 million or so, and everybody is getting their groups together and their families to go in on buying lottery tickets, and they're basing their futures and their lives on a lottery ticket, hoping that that's going to change their lives. But you have to understand that money is energy. It's not a physical entity. Money just allows you to do more than you can currently do right now that you're broke. The more money you have, the more resources you have. And money is not taught in school. The education of money is not taught in school. Wealthy people teach this to their children. And I go on to say this, and even it's controversy when I say this, but broke and poor people think about money far more than wealthy people do. Well, how can that be? That's not true. Have you hung around wealthy people? One, when you hang around them, you see they're real down to earth. And money is the furthest thing from their mind. What they think about is quality of life. Quality of life. Money allows them to have a better quality of life. So that's what they're striving for. Happiness is different for many different people. Happiness is not based on how much money you have in the bank account. It's based on what you feel your quality of life is, and are you living it? So why do I say that? Well, here's an example. When wealthy people go to a store, do they look at the price tags? No. When they go to buy clothes, do they ask, how much does this dress cost? No. They don't. To them, money's unlimited. Poor and broke people are always thinking about money. We're obsessed with money because we can't survive without it, and we have so little of it. I'll pick that up more on the mindset. There's a law of attraction there that's working in the opposite direction. That people that's thinking about money most of the time, they're not attracting money to them. There's a reason why. But we'll go over that in mindset training. But I want you to think of money like a river. Money is a river. Anybody ever seen that movie Finding Nemo? Remember that movie? And I saw it with my oldest son when he was little. I think it was like 3 or 4. And there's a scene on there where they have to take like the transatlantic current. It's a river within the ocean. I remember my son was like, how can there be river in the ocean? It's water. I said, yeah, but the current, it just means in one particular spot, it moves faster than everywhere else. So if you just get yourself in that current, you get pushed further along. Well, money is the same way. There's more money floating around the economy right now than ever in history combined. More money right now than even during the days of Solomon. There's enough money in the world for every single man, woman, and child to be a millionaire. Every single one. And at the end of this presentation, I'll play the video Wealth Transfer in America so you can see the difference. A pat is not a nice thought, it's a fact. There's enough money that every single person can be a millionaire. It's just not distributed that way. And I'm going to go over why. Because most of the money is flowing down what's called the money current. It's a river. And we're all fishing for money out of this river. Now, like seasons, sometimes the current can shift direction. Now, since we're all fishing for money out of the same river, some of us have yachts, some of us have oil rigs, some of us have bigger nets than others. The majority of us is sitting on the riverbank with one little fishing pole, fishing for our little piece of the pie. But when the river decides to change course, what do the wealthy people do? They pull up their anchor and they move with the river. Ever wonder why in a good economy, wealthy people make a lot of money? In a bad economy, no, the slides are not supposed to be changing. Staying right here. In a bad economy, wealthy people make even more money. You ever wonder why that is? One, they have less competition to fishing for the river. Why? Because when the river changes course, most people don't move with the river. Only the wealthy do. The rest of us is still stuck on the riverbank, trying to fish in a dried up riverbed, and then we scream, recession. Where did the jobs go? Where did the money go? Then you're going to force the federal government to try to force the river to come back your way. I'm sorry, the river is never coming back this way. We are not in a great recession. We are in what's called a job displacement. If you want to get out of a recession, get involved in an industry where there is no recession, where the money is going. This has happened time and time again in our history, for those who understand and have researched history. Wealth and fortune has changed industries many times. And the billionaires and the richest families of the world, they have something that's called old money, and then you have something that's called new money. Old people, old money, I can't say old people, but old money always adapts to the change. New money comes to be when an economic change happens and people who are traditionally broke and poor take advantage of that change, and now they become wealthy because they position themselves in the river of money. That shift is taking place now. For the past 20 years, if you go back and look at motivational authors and economists, and you look at the books that they wrote, they always talk about the new economy, the economy of the 21st century, the new professional, Robert Kiyosaki. What are they writing about? That old way of thinking is dead and gone. It no longer works. You know what they say? If you want to make it in this world, you have to do a couple of things. Go to school, get good grades, and get a good, safe, secure job, a job that will take care of you for the rest of your life, right? That's what we're taught. But what happens? That worked for 2 generations ago. It's still on the first slide. I have not moved the slides. I'm still in my monologue, the beginning right now. So what happens? Well, I went to school. I graduated from Morehouse College in Atlanta, Georgia. I had good grades. I was on the honor roll. I graduated. I had a good job and got laid off. Not once, but twice. That old saying is no longer true. Even if you're lucky to get a job and work for the same company for 40 years of your life, the federal government already states you're going to retire broke, depending on family, government, and friends by the age of 65. 97% of you will. Why? Because there is no 401k and Social Security is only $800 a month. And you have the elderly eating dog food to get by and becoming Walmart greeters. And guess what? That was best case scenario. That's no longer the case now because people aren't sticking with the same company for 40 years. It is even worse today. And that's what we're going to go over. And why what I'm going to share with you is so important. Even if you're not involved in shopping Sherlock, this is going to affect you. So let's talk about this new economy. We like to call it the Great Wealth Transfer. This is the greatest economic shift in wealth in the history of mankind. And that industry is called e-commerce. Now, to put this in perspective, what was the last time, because we already understand the word commerce, right? Commerce since the beginning of history. If you owned a boat and you were back in the Middle Ages and older than that, and your city was connected to a river, because that's where the biggest rivers were, connected to the biggest cities of the world were connected to rivers, and commerce traveled up and down the river. It was faster than trying to go over land. Commerce shifted to trains. Trains connected the East Coast and the West Coast. It then shifted to highways. You no longer needed to have a city connected to a river or a railroad because you can build a highway to your city. Then it connected to airports. Airports and airplanes connected the world. Commerce. Commerce has always stayed the same. But the letter in front of the commerce has what's changed. The E. E-commerce, meaning electronic commerce. The last time we saw E among a noun was called mail. Think back to 1990, 91. How did we communicate with people before the internet and people that didn't have long distance phones? We wrote letters to people, right? I said it the other day. I'm only 37 years old. But back in college, when I used to go home for summer break, I couldn't afford long distance. My parents weren't about to let me call my girlfriend, who's now my wife, long distance. She was in Philadelphia and I was in Los Angeles. So we communicated through mail. We actually wrote letters to each other. One conversation would take 2 weeks. It wasn't how was your day? We'd have to write the letter, mail it, 3 days to get there. She'd have to read it, write a new letter back to me, 3 days to get back to me. Can you imagine how that was? To us, it was no thing because that's all we knew. But Bill Gates comes out and says, number one, I'm going to put a window on every computer. And number two, I'm going to introduce something called email. And he said, email is going to transform our planet. And I saw that interview. And the guy interviewing him laughed at him and said, what are you talking about email? People sending their mail through electronically? That's not safe. That's not secure. That's not going to catch on. People like to physically write letters to each other. And Bill Gates just laughed at him. Next thing you know, email took over. And guess what? It is already obsolete. The average person, it takes them like 12 hours to check their email before they even look at their email. It's all texting and instant messaging now. Nobody's writing emails. But now you take commerce and you throw the E in front of commerce. Electronic commerce. Do you understand how huge this is? See, if you focus on the word commerce itself, commerce is the reason why societies exist. It's the reason why they're able to survive. And you throw E in front of it, you're now going to shift commerce as we're used to it to electronic. So we're talking about trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars that transfers hands every single year through regular commerce is going to shift to electronic commerce. Which means those of you who want to become the new money for the first time have a chance to position yourself in the e-commerce to get this new money. And there's enough for everybody. I don't care how people say, well, Brandon, are you concerned about competition? Absolutely not. If we had just 0.1%, we're still a multi-billion-dollar industry. There is no just one company in commerce. Why in the world would there only be one company in e-commerce? So let's go over what I like to call third-party verification. Anytime people show our business, you know what I hear all the time? Oh, I have to do some research. I have to check on that. I never heard of e-commerce. I don't believe it's a big thing. How could you make money by giving away a free product? That's one of the most ignorant things to ask, because this is all you have to do is turn around and say, oh, I don't know. Let's ask Facebook, Twitter, Yahoo, Google. They gave away a free product. How much are they worth today? That's how you answer that question. Oh, how do you make money on a free product? Experts say that this is the beginning of a 10-year window of opportunity. What experts? Me? I'm not the expert. But I'm going to show you where to go, what the experts are saying. All you have to do is turn on the news. Look at this article right here. 5 problems retailers must fix in 2014. Amid aggressive discounting, little foot traffic, a shorter holiday season, and severe weather, the end of 2013 was disappointing for retailers. What are retailers? For those of you who don't know, well, every time you leave your house or you go somewhere else and you purchase, that's a retailer. Now, with barely any time to catch its breath, the industry is bracing for even greater, even larger sea changes. Okay, so what this is saying is October, November, and December of 2013 was a culture shock for retailers. That's the time when they make most of their money, and it was disappointing for them. Before they can even catch their breath going into 2014, the industry is bracing for even larger, is it small change, ripple change, river change? No. Look at the adjective they use, sea change, such as mounting privacy issue concerns, massive data breaches, and retailers' desire to wean consumers off discounts. As the new year kicks off, retailers are smack in the middle, and I would say this is the beginning of 3 to 5 years of, is it little change? Is it small change? Is it minor change? No, major changes that will redefine. Understand the wording that's being used. This whole paragraph is saying that this is the biggest thing we've seen ever. Redefine the industry? How often does that happen? How often does your industry get redefined? Who said this? Allison Paul, Vice Chairman of U.S. Retail and Distribution Leader at Consultancy Deloitte. I wish I could scroll down on this because I can't. It's just a screenshot. But Paul, here's what he said. Paul hasn't seen change like this since big box discounters such as Walmart began to gain momentum 50 years ago. He goes on, I would say the last time there was this big was Walmart. And he says, but this is bigger than that. How much is Walmart worth today? Over 100 billion? Couple hundred billion? And he hasn't seen change like that since 50 years ago. So let me ask you a question. Not for those of you that's in the know now, but before you heard of Shopping Sherlock, did you have any idea that this was currently taking place right underneath our nose right now? No, I didn't. And the reason why is because we are thinking as consumers. We're thinking of convenience. Yeah, we all shop online. 97% of the planet shops online, but to us it's convenience. We didn't think about how is this going to affect jobs? How is this going to affect our lives? How is it going to affect our habits? Can I actually make money from this? Let's go on. Without rebirth, malls face extinction. What are you talking about? How can the mall face extinction? See, when I was a young buck back in the day, like it was that long ago, when I was a teenager, me and my buddies, we went to an all-boy Catholic high school called Damien High School. There were no girls. So you know what we did? As soon as school was out, we didn't have basketball or football practice or track, and the weekends, we hung out at the mall. Why? Because that's where the girls were. And while we were there, what would we do? We would spend money in the food court, hang out at Foot Locker, stay outside of Victoria's Secrets from a distance, and we always hung out in the music store because they didn't have downloadable music. CDs were barely getting popular at that time, but we couldn't even afford that. We were still buying cassettes. But they had these booths where you can listen to music, so we would hang out there all day. But while we were hanging out, we were spending money. That's not taking place anymore. Why? Because people are hanging out on Facebook and downloading music on iTunes. You want to meet a girl? Hop on Facebook now. So people aren't going to the malls. So without rebirth, meaning without a change, the malls are going to face extinction. And if they go extinct, what happens to the people who work at the malls? They get laid off. Showrooming left in the dust as shoppers go online. Do you know that, you know what Best Buy used to be called? Best Buy was always called the showroom of Amazon.com because people would go to Best Buy, look at what they want, touch it, feel it, experience it, then go home and buy it off of Amazon. So showrooming left in the dust. Now shoppers are going online. Here we go with the adjective in this article, CNBC. This was just January 22nd, 2014. A tsunami. Why the adjective tsunami? Why couldn't they just say, yeah, we have a rash of store closings expected to hit? No, no, no. A tsunami. It's to paint a picture in your head so you understand how big this is. The last major tsunami that we know about happened, the day after Christmas in the Asian peninsula. Over 200,000 people died from that. It was huge. So this is what they're relating that same word to this. A tsunami of store closings expected to hit retail. There's that word again, retail. I didn't scroll down on that one, okay. Mobile commerce statistics. By the end of 2013, more people will use mobile phones than desktop computers to browse the internet. More than half of the U.S. mobile subscribers owned a smartphone as of June 2012, and two-thirds of them belong to the 24 to 35 age group, which means that these figures will only go up. So here's the thing when people say, is this a fad or is this a trend? The articles that I'm reading to you, does any of these articles indicate that this is just a fad that we're going to get over? Or is it showing you that this is a trend, and like Muhammad said, those with vision are going to be able to prosper? E-commerce in the Middle East grew 300% in the past year. I was watching a documentary with my son about a year ago, 2 years ago, and it was talking about, it was in North Africa, and they were talking about the nomads, and the nomads on the camels. And you know what we thought, what he saw? Because he asked me this question. They all had cell phones in the middle of the desert. And then the next question he asked, how do they charge their cell phones? There's no electricity out there. Good question. How do they charge their cell phones? Well, when they know they're making the trips, they take multiple battery packs and charge them when they get to the next destination. Middle East is growing faster than in America in e-commerce. Walmart Sam's Club to cut 2,300 workers. Uh-oh. Remember the very first article? It talked about a sea change in layoffs, in store closings. Walmart to cut 2,300 workers. Or Sam's Club, I mean. E-commerce expanding at breakneck pace. So for those of you who understand why the rest of the world is growing faster in Shopping Sherlock than America, this article explains why. Let's see if you can pick it up. Online cross-border trade seen growing 5-fold by 2020. That doesn't sound like a fad. The value of online exports in 6 of the top e-commerce markets will grow 5-fold to $130 billion by 2020, with Britain currently generating the biggest online trade surplus by selling more goods abroad. Understand, America is way behind. You may think that we're on top of the world, but we are behind. We just don't know it yet. We have no clue. So you wonder why the UK is blowing up? Because they understand this. They see this. The rest of the world is doing cross-border trade. The last time Americans saw anything about cross-border trade, it was called NAFTA. North American Free Trade Agreement in the 90s underneath Bill Clinton. Those of you know your history. What was that about? Open free trade between Mexico, United States, and Canada. And it was big news. Why? Because certain Americans thought that Mexican trucks were going to be barreling down the freeways into America legally. And it caused a ruckus. They thought people were going to lose jobs. If you think people are going to lose jobs because of NAFTA, what do you think is going to happen because of this? See, in other countries, there's not a Walmart or a Best Buy on every single corner. So what do people do? They pull out their smartphone and buy products from different countries and have it shipped to them. I was doing a call for Dino's team in Japan, and one of his leaders said something very profound. And he said, you know, Brandon, tell me how Shopping Sherlock is built for the mobile people, because over here in Japan, nobody has PCs. We all have mobile devices. That's how we access the internet. That's how we purchase products. That's not the case in America. Less than a half people with mobile phones are using the mobile device to make purchases. Over there, it's like 99%. The rest of the world is ahead of us on this. And again, it is expanding at breakneck pace. Stores confront new world of reduced shopper traffic. E-commerce not only siphons off sales, but changes in shopping habits. Changes in our habits? That's not a fad. E-commerce is going to change our habits, just like the microwave changed our habits, right? Cable TV changed our habits. DVR changed our habits. Cell phones changed our habits. And once the habit changes, it doesn't go back to the old days. We're not going to go back. I told my dad to give up on the records. Give up on the 8-tracks. We're not going back to those days. I had to reluctantly give up on Nintendo. It's all about PlayStation. My kids saw they were at my mom's house and were going through the closet and found I had an old Atari and an old Nintendo and some of the video games. And my son said, "What is this? Look how big it is." They can't even comprehend. And I remember when I was playing Nintendo back in the day, my uncles and grandpas looked at me like, "Ah, you spoiled kids. Go outside and play." That stuff is dinosaur age now. So this article says our habits are changing because of e-commerce. Holiday sales up, but fewer people in stores. Window shopping is taking on a new meaning for many Americans. The latest sales data from the holiday season shows that U.S. shoppers increasingly prefer to research clothes, TVs, and shoes online or virtual window shop before heading to the stores. The rise of online entrepreneurs. With lower startup costs and a broader reach, a growing number of entrepreneurs are turning to online retail instead of traditional brick-and-mortar businesses. Think about that. You're going to have, because the economy is changing and people are going to be looking for work and looking to make some money, they're going to go to doing online home business in e-commerce. Anything that has to do with e-commerce is going to be profitable. Look at this Twitter. This is when you need to pay attention to what billionaires are doing. Leaked documents have revealed that Twitter is planning to allow its 232 million users to buy products directly from the site as part of a new online retail venture called Twitter Commerce. Now here's where, smart people, when they read articles like this, they read between the lines. According to Recode, the technology blog, the transactional service is a partnership, okay? Highlight that word, partnership, with the U.S. e-commerce site called Fancy, highlight Fancy and e-commerce, which counts Twitter founder Jack Dorsey, who's a billionaire. He's founded Twitter, and he's an investor and board member of Fancy, and he owns Twitter, yet they're talking about a partnership between his own two companies. Follow the billionaires. Billionaires smell change, just like if you were on an island and you're looking at nice, clean skies, but you just smell the air, you know the weather's about to change, right? That's how billionaires are when it comes to money and the economy. They smell change coming, and they get themselves positioned before anybody even knows what's going on. That's exactly what's taking place right now. Mock-ups of the e-commerce proposal show Twitter users can make purchases simply from tweeting a picture of what they want and buying it off of his other company called Fancy. They're getting positioned. Here's another billionaire. Starbucks Schultz. He's a billionaire owner of Starbucks. Why in the world is he even talking about e-commerce? Number one, not only is he talking about it, but he went on CNBC on TV to talk about it. Why? Why is this billionaire paying attention? Here's what he had to say. It's a good thing that you cannot buy lattes online, because if you could, then Starbucks would be among the traditional companies that may get swept away by what Schultz described as an online sea change encroaching upon brick-and-mortar retailers.
most evident from the lackluster holiday gift-giving season. Reporting first quarter earnings after the bell on Thursday, Starbucks said increased online shopping kept more U.S. consumers at home than usual during the holiday season, which meant less visits to coffee shops in malls and near retail outlets. Bingo! That's why he is talking about it. If people aren't going to stores to buy things because they're buying it online, then they're not going to stop off at his Starbucks to buy coffee. Therefore, indirectly, his business is going to be impacted. So he sees this. He's sounding the red flag. Now, this is very important if you listen to his words here, what's coming next. In an interview at CNBC, Schultz said that he believes December represents an inflection point. In other words, we are getting a window, a glimpse of the future, of a change that is starting to take place. This is the beginning. An inflection point in the growing use of online shopping services. Notice that they highlighted or quoted inflection point in this article as well, which means that's very important. It says, we are going to be he says, we are navigating through what I believe. Now, that's also very important. He says what he believes. Who cares what he believes? Oh, only that he's a billionaire. What if I stood out on the street corner and said, I believe that e-commerce represents a significant sea change? Who's going to listen to me? Maybe a few people. But when a billionaire says it, he gets on the news. I believe to be a significant sea change. We're going to be talking about this for quite some time. I would not want to be a traditional brick and mortar retailer that did not have mobile payments, that did not have social and digital media. Those companies are going to find themselves significantly challenged in 2014 and beyond. Did you guys get that? Significantly challenged in 2014 and beyond. I'm going to switch to desktop sharing because there's a few articles I want you to see real quick before I move on. And I need to speed up. I'm running out of time here. Got guided. Share desktop. So let's see here. If you can see my desktop, type Y in the chat box. Great. Here's an article that came out March 11th, last week. Here's the latest sign that China's e-commerce market is white hot. Now understand the title is China, the second most populous country in the world, and they're getting involved in e-commerce. What does that mean for us? The Chinese e-commerce market is becoming an extremely competitive space. With lots of dollars at stake, companies that were not originally e-commerce focused are expanding their services to include digital marketplaces and payment platforms. In other words, companies that just focus on retail are going to be firing their people and transferring their focus to e-commerce. Do you guys understand that? It's not just in America, China as well. Here's another quick article. This was written up on March 12th, a few days ago. 9 retailers closing the most stores. Brick and mortar retailers have been suffering from slow economic activity for years, as well as from increased competition from online retailers. The rise in store closings is a prominent sign of their struggles. Weakened companies cannot afford the real estate and personnel costs that go along with supporting hundreds of unprofitable locations. The clearest proof of the problem was Radio Shack's recent decision to close more than 1,000 stores. Here's a couple of those stores if you want to know what's about to happen that most people don't know yet. Abercrombie and Fitch, Barnes & Noble, Aeropostale, JCPenney, Office Depot, Radio Shack, Sears, Staples, Toys R Us. And they're not the only ones. You think the economy is bad right now. What do you think is going to happen over the next 12 months when thousands and thousands of people are going to get laid off all over the country because of these store closings? And what do you think the political climate is going to look like? Normally, I don't like to talk about politics and religion at all, but we are going into political season for 2014. I'm going to be Nostradamus. It's all going to be about the economy and jobs at the end of the year, not really Obamacare. Because at the end of the day, people want to have a job so that they can make some money. And if you have thousands and thousands of people getting laid off over the next 6 months, that is what everybody's going to be screaming about, that the economy is horrible. And they're going to want the government to fix it. Here's the bad news. There is nothing the government can do. Doesn't matter if there's a Democrat or a Republican in office. There is nothing they can do. They're going to give you a whole bunch of lip service, but at the end of the day, companies are going to do what's profitable for companies. And they're going to be focusing their attention online and firing everybody else. See, this isn't the same, well, our jobs are going overseas, our jobs are going to India. What are you going to say when your jobs are going to just online? You can't point to who's taking your job. The job is just gone and is not coming back. This is not a recession. This is a job displacement. Hope you guys understand how big this is. It has nothing to do with Shopping Sherlock. Shopping Sherlock is just a vehicle for us to get positioned to take advantage of this industry and not be a victim to the industry. There's only going to be two types of people. Actually, I'll say three. The first type of person is 97% of the planet is engaged in social media, online shopping. Whether you like it or not, they are. The second type of person is going to become a victim of this because they're going to start losing their jobs, or family members are. And the third type of person is going to figure out how to make money from this. You guys understand? There is no in between. This just is the way it is. And look at this one. It is already starting. Save U.S. jobs. March 10th. Level playing field between brick and mortar stores and online retailers. The only thing the government can do is, and what they're trying to do, because the government can't regulate the internet. You have some certain countries out there that can block you from going to certain websites and whatnot. But there's always a way around that. But here is what they want the government to do. Start putting tax on the internet, because they're saying that there's no sales tax for online shopping. So if we start to put sales tax on online shopping, that'll force people to come back to the stores. Are you crazy? If people are already paying retail on sales tax going to the shops, why would they stop shopping online to go back to the store if they're going to pay the same tax? It's the convenience of online shopping. This is just a stopgap. It's political. It's politics. It doesn't matter how much you tax the internet. That's not going to reverse this trend. But they're already starting to. Please, government, save our jobs. Sorry, they're gone. Let's come back here. Stop screen sharing. Speed this up. So I just want to make you guys aware of what is taking place and how Shopping Sherlock is perfectly positioned. This is not about I'm giving away a free app. How much money am I making on the Sherlock? What is the compensation plan? How come I have to pay $249? What's Michael Weeder's social security number? All irrelevant. It's irrelevant. We're talking about survival at this point. Because this is something that we cannot hide from and we cannot escape. And since you're here, it's important that you're armed with this information so you have the passion to be behind what you're doing. I have passion for this like somebody who's selling health and wellness and they are passionate about their juice product because it made them feel good when they were drinking it. Or skincare product because their face cleared up. Or weight loss because they actually lost weight using the product. This is the future right now. That's why I'm passionate about it. Our positioning and growth. July of 2013, look at where we were compared to January 2014. 300% growth in 7 months. Only going up. We have just begun. We know that we are in the right place and we know our timing is superb. Look at Walmart. In 2012, Walmart invested $350 million in their e-commerce initiatives. Walmart's biggest shopping day in 2013 was Cyber Monday. Not Black Friday, Cyber Monday. When the biggest retailer in the world says their future is e-commerce, you know Shopping Sherlock is in the right place at the right time. CNBC says the new top choice for shoppers, online overtakes brick and mortar. Cyber Monday sales surged to new record. What do you think Cyber Monday 2014 is going to be? USA Today says growth online is contrast to sluggish holiday sales in physical stores as shoppers are lured by convenience of the web. Cyber Monday sales rose 16% to a record $2.29 billion. I remember just a few years ago when it was only at a half a billion. What makes us unique? One place where you can find the best prices, the daily deals, the coupons, and cash back. Other companies sell one product for a few products. We have everything. So when people ask, what is your product? Our product is everything. Not trying to be negative, but not being robbed in the malls or parking lot. Yeah, there you go, Charles. that happens. We have everything for the best price. You can earn money even when people say no. We give it away for free. The free model works. Look at Facebook, Google, and Twitter. Don't tell me the free doesn't work. Facebook just bought WhatsApp for $19 billion. Who built those companies? We did. Who's going to build Sherlock? We are. What's the evolve of our product? Well, our mobile device is going to be evolving. The marketing system's evolving. And our Sherlock's going to be worth $4 per Sherlock you give away. Right now, it was at last month $1.25. New countries are exploding, like Dino in Japan. And I'm telling you right now, I'm being Nostradamus again. Mark my words. The person who's going to make the most money in Shopping Sherlock does not even know that this company exists. They're either going to be, and they're not going to be American. That person is either going to be from Russia, China, Japan, or Brazil. Runner-up might be India. Those individuals are going to be the top money earners in the world. And they have no idea that there's even a company called Shopping Sherlock right now. What you want to do is make sure that they fall in your downline. Remember, we get paid through infinity. That's why timing is perfect right now. Don't sit on this. Don't wait. Don't try to figure it out. Spread the word. Share. The person who makes the most money is the person who puts most people on a presentation. Look at Visalis. When they first got started, they were almost close to bankruptcy and going out of business. Then they hit around 2010 to 2012. Look at their meteoric rise. They went from 4 million to 623 million in 2 years. Cincy, same thing happened. Slow growth at the beginning. And then from 2008, they went from 60 million to 2011, just 3 years later, 540 million in 3 years. Isogenics, around 2005, they had a peak. They went from 50 million to 350 million by 2012. Those of you saying, oh, my business is slow, it's not moving fast, you've only been here 5 or 6 months. This is not a job, for one, and this is not a get-rich-quick scheme or scam, and this is not some program that you can make $10,000 next week. This is not designed for that. This is long-term growth, and your business is going to grow like this. All of a sudden, it's just going to spike and explode if you don't quit, get frustrated, and give up. By 2020, e-commerce and mobile commerce will be $5 trillion. Today, it is $1.29 trillion. 7 years from now, or 6 years from now, it's going to be $5 trillion. You're adding an extra $4 trillion, and we are at the beginning of this. You mean to tell me you can't make $1 million from this? Growth in mobile, payment options, small business adoption, and delivery logistics improvements will contribute to all of this. Fortunes will be made. The market share is $5 trillion and growing. 10% market share is $500 billion. 1% market share is $50 billion. 1/10 of 1% of $5 billion is $5 billion. Now, this was from our convention, but everybody in the room of convention, a couple hundred people, if all they did was got 2 people and they duplicated that amongst their team for 12 months, two, getting two, getting two, getting two, if that's all you did for 12 months, our sales would be $445 million in sales. Our monthly auto ships will be $40 million a month. Oops. That's what, and that's these are the commissions that's getting paid out from that. $40 million a month in commissions. So let me go ahead and stop there because we are now at the end. So those of you who are seeing this, you might have heard this for the first time. I didn't want this to be a normal presentation. I wanted to show the value of what you're sitting on, of our product. Our product is e-commerce. It's our job to spread the word to people out there. It's one thing to be in the water, the ocean. Oh, I said that all wrong. It's one thing to be on the sidelines, on the shore, and miss the wave. It's another to be in the ocean and still miss the wave. And we're all in the ocean right now. We can't escape it. But we can adapt and change with the coming of the times. It's now or never right now at the beginning. So with that, let me stop this recording.